Walz, still a giant turd.
You got to look back about being on the debate stage with him and thinking, man, you really maybe gave this person a little too much of the benefit of the doubt. And we're a little bit, the assuming good faith was maybe a mistake with JD Vance.
Look, I'll own it. But Tim, you've been around this long enough. No, when you're on a ticket, you take your orders. Look, I have agency on that, meaning I could have done this, but I am a good team player. I would beat the out of him now if I could, and I would call that out. I mean, that's just different. In verbally going at it, my argument is much better.
Joe, this must hit you hard because, you work out a lot. You're in great shape. You hear somebody talk trash like that. It's like, who is he trying to kid?
Total weak sauce, Greg. I can see right through it. I know when someone's not tough. And I'll say this. He kind of stole my pre-fight strategy because he said he would kick JD Vance's ass if I could, which means he was also acting weak in the fight scenario. That's what I do all the time. I always act weak in a potential fight. That way, maybe they won't try as hard. One of the things I do is I say, all right, let's fight, but could you try to avoid my left side because it doesn't work very well since I've had the stroke, right? And then once the fight starts, won't he be surprised when I grab his balls with my left hand?
That is perfect.
And what happened to Kilmeade?
He's surprisingly cagey and wiry.
He's a nimble little man, Kennedy. What is it with Democrats threatening to kick everybody's ass? Remember, it was Joe Biden.
Joe Biden's like, well, I'd take him behind the woodshed.
Yeah.
Like, well, we have electricity now. We don't have as many wood-burning stoves to heat our homes as we used to. Amtrak Joe, but thanks for them fighting words. Woo. TimWalz is so full of tepid because I will never forget that debate. Because I use that debate as like a textbook metaphor for how I want my single friends' future partners to look at them. The way he looked into JD Vance's eyes, he was so romantically transfixed, and he was so deeply enamored. And it's like, I hope to God for my female friends, they find a guy who loves them the way TimWalz is in love with JD Vance, and still is. Because, he has these martial arts, like jujitsu fantasies about the two of them rolling around.
So this is basically the kind of like the politician example of pulling on the pigtails. He's pulling on JD Vance's pigtails.
He's looking into those deep blue eyes, and he lost himself in a romantic Caribbean, and he'll never be able to come back from that.
Oh, my God. Starting to feel bad for him, Tyrus. Do you get the impression that Walz realizes it doesn't matter what he says anymore, that he's done?
Oh, I get a lot of impressions when it comes to Walz. He also doesn't give a how he dresses. This dude he's got 2 collars on. Like,
I do that sometimes.
Hell? Really? And you put one up to look tough?
Yeah, that's not good for his look. Do you know that him and I are the same age?
Well, he is the most shot-out 70-year-old I've ever seen.
I am not 70.
Hindsight's 20/20, but this guy, he's still blind.
Yeah.
I would have, I could have, I should have, but you didn't. So why are you talking about it? Like, if I could, now he can't get on the same stage as JD.
Yeah.
Well, it would be a step down for him. You need to be focused on what's going on with your Somalian daycares and your fraud, bruh. How about you kick that ass for a little while since you got?
He can't even share an elevator with JD Vance. I mean, he's like no longer even relevant in the political sphere, much less the elevator using sphere.
But being positive, and I will give him credit for that debate because they both were respectful to each other.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. And that's what he's trying to they're like. And of course, when you see that and then I was forced to do that. You only further let us know how we've been unburdened by what has been. Like he's just, and he's just one of those guys. He doesn't get it, Greg. It's like your old saying. It's way better to reach up than reach around.
Yes. My priest told me that in 2nd grade. Guy, a lot of people don't realize you are a stone cold killer. But you never act that way because you're very calm. But you're an intensely violent man. You snap a neck as soon as you could kiss a child. That makes no sense. But my point is, why is it that men who are helpless and weak become more violent in their rhetoric?
Well, because they can't cash the actual checks, right? And so he says, well, I would kick the bleep out of him now if I could. I'm saying bleep because I think we've run out of them on this show so
yes.
far.
Good for you.
And the answer is you couldn't when you had the chance rhetorically on stage, and you also can't physically. We can see that. I also would imagine if there were to be this fight that he's talking about, TimWalz strikes me as the type of person who would fight by removing one of his gloves and slapping someone across the face. That's TimWalz kicking the beep out of someone. And it's a pathetic, sad person. Also, he goes out there and he says, Trump's ICE is the Gestapo, although he called it Gazpacho because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
But he tried to call them the Gestapo. And then he, just a few days ago, said, we have to bring down the temperature. Then he goes on a podcast and talks about physically attacking the vice president. It's just incoherent.
Yeah, you know, I think his strategy, and it's a good one because I've used it before, he'll wrestle you and then he'll hope that when he gets aroused, you'll back off.
That actually works, Greg.
Yes, it does.
No, I've experienced that.
Yeah.
No. When I was wrestling, there was this little guy named Spud, right? And I was teasing him. And I would tease him all the time, right? One day he got mad, and he's like, the hell with this. I don't care how big you are. I'm going to kick your ass. And I was like, what? I stood up, and he was around your height. Actually, he was a little taller, but he was still small. And he starts taking his shirt off and taking his pants off. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, this is how I fight. And I was like, you win.
Yes. It's called the